Hi everybody, I'm back with the last video for the 13 Haunted Projects of Halloween. This is number 13, and I'm very sorry I didn't get this up sooner. I really wanted to have it uploaded for Halloween Day, and time just got away from me. But without further ado, let's get started. I did promise I would come back and do a tutorial on the mini scrapbook folio I made for a fall project. It has a ribbon closure in case those of you haven't seen it, and it opens up this way, and it's entirely made of cardstock, so it's really simple and inexpensive. You have a corner pocket here that you can tuck in any kind of extra photo mats or just photos or tags, whatever you'd like to make. And you could tuck those in there. Then there's a nice area for a photo here. Then it flips open again this way, and you have a magnetic closure that has a bunch of flip pages here. A bunch of extra photo mats go in this flip book here. And then you have a nice area for a photo here, and then this flap flips up for another big photo here, and then you have a bottom pocket on this side that you can tuck in even more photos, tags, or photo mats. So let's get started. You're going to need a piece of cardstock that measures 12 inches by 11 3/4. Line it up at the 11 3/4 mark on your scoreboard, and we are going to score at 3 3/4 inches. Oops, I think I slid off there. I did a little bit. And then 4 inches. Then move all the way over to 7 3/4 inches. And again at 8 inches. So you want to flip your paper around, line it up at the 12-inch mark, and score at 6 inches. We put our scoreboard aside for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half at the 6-inch score line and make sure this meets up pretty nicely here. Okay. Now before we go ahead and fold our other score lines, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to cut off these two sections. So you're going to want to cut off this panel, this 1/4 inch section, this panel, and this 1/4 inch section on the left side. So you're going to leave this right flap here on the top and all the flaps on the bottom. So let's do that. Cut across my score line. So I cut the first panel. I'm cutting into the 1/4 inch section. Second panel all the way to past the other 1/4 inch section. Now I'm going to cut on this line here, and we're just going to leave one section on the top for our flap. And you're not going to waste this because you can use this, you know, for other, you can use this to make your photo mats or your tags, whatever you'd like to do. So you should be left with a piece that has one flap for your top piece. And that is going to be this flap right here. Okay? And then you have your sections here. So you're going to want to start folding all of your score lines. These 1/4 inch sections are a little tricky to fold, but have patience, take your time folding them. Okay? So we have all our score lines folded. This flap should be down. Then you can fold it this way and this way. This piece here is going to be our front flap. The front flap, before you mat it, which I've already started matting mine, this front flap here is where we're going to add this ribbon before we mat. So what I do is in the middle of the page, I use double-sided tape. I put that across. And the ribbon I'm using today is this cute little witch's boots. And that's from Celebrate It Halloween. And that measures 3/8 of an inch wide. And it's 3 yards. Okay. I measured this out at 26 inches. And what I do is I make the two ends meet. And I put it around my closed folio here. Okay, so the two ends meet. I'm going to rip up this double-sided tape here, and then I'm going to lay this piece right on it. Okay, that's the only place we're going to adhere this ribbon, because this is going to wrap around the back and meet the other side, and then we'll be able to tie our bow. Okay, so we matted that, or we adhered it to our paper. So what I then do is take double-sided tape and go on top of it again. Usually I do 2 pieces to really cover the whole thing, and that way I know my mat, my photo mat, is really going to stick to this. So let me lift this up. You're going to want 8 mats for the big sections here, and those are going to measure 5 7/8 high by 3 5/8 wide. Just using a little bit of glue around my edges and here. And now I'm going to mat the front piece on. And push down really well. So that's underneath the mat, and like I said, this is going to wrap around, and then we'll tie it on the right side. So go ahead and mat your pieces. I matted my 3 pieces on the back. I went ahead and matted, let's move this ribbon aside. I matted my 2 left panels here. I also matted the one underneath. I did not mat this one yet, but I did mat the top piece. And the reason why you don't want to mat this one yet is because you want to add your pocket to the bottom here, which we're going to make. But we're going to add our pocket. You're going to put a magnet here in this pocket and a magnet here so this stays closed. Okay? But for right now, let's make our bottom pocket. For your bottom pocket, you want a piece that measures 4 3/4 by 2 3/4. Line it up, and you want to score at a 1/2 inch. Flip it around to the other side, score at a 1/2 inch again. So you have both sides scored at a 1/2 inch. Then you're going to want to turn it to the 2 3/4 mark and score at a 1/2 inch there. And what you'll be left is 3 sections that you're going to score. You're going to fold on the score lines. And it's going to leave you with 2 little corner pieces on each side that we're going to trim off. And you should be left with 3 flaps that we're going to close up to make our pocket. So what I do is I usually fold my 2 side pieces, and this is your bottom piece. What I do is I add glue to this in this area here, and then I close it up, and then we're left with this whole piece here. Okay, you're going to add glue to this section, and this section, and then glue it down. But for your mat piece here, you're going to want a piece that measures 3 5/8 by 2 1/8, and we're going to glue that down onto our pocket. Oh, but before we glue the mat, I want to use the magnets, which I forgot to tell you about. I'm very sorry. I order my magnets from Magnet for Us Incorporated on eBay. I'm going to post a link below this video so you can head over and check it out. I usually order 50 to 100 magnets at a time. They're super strong, they have great prices there, and I've been ordering from them for years. So I'm going to take 2 magnets out of my pack. I don't get paid to say that either. It's just where I order them from, and I like them. I've never had a problem with them. They ship pretty fast, and I've really enjoyed ordering from that company. Okay, so we have our pocket, we have our photo mat. Let me get the scoreboard out of the way, guys. And we also have our flap mat here that we haven't adhered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add my pocket to my album first. And the sun just went in, so let me open up my curtain a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to put glue all around the edges here. These are so fun to make, guys. Once you make one, you're like, oh, that was really, you know, that was bad. That wasn't that bad. That was pretty easy. And then you can make them a lot quicker the next time and the time after that. And you can make a lot of these for gifts. They're pretty easy. So what you're going to do is put your pocket on top of the mat. Make sure you don't go near your score line on this side because you want this to be able to close. Okay, so stay away from the score line and measure it to this edge first. And then what I do is I leave my 2 magnets together, and I'm going to put glue on one side. I'm going to put my magnet at the bottom of the pocket. Then I'm going to add glue to this side, and I'm going to close this flap. And then I push down on that. And what that's going to do is it's going to leave this glue mark here, so I know where I want to glue my magnet, and that way when I close my flap, I know those magnets are going to line up. So I'm going to add a little bit more glue to where I made my glue mark up here. I'm going to separate these magnets, and then the piece that I have glue on, I'm going to put down, face down, and glue that up top. And then here, because I pulled on it a little bit, I'm just going to make sure I add more glue and glue that down. Okay, so now we have our 2 magnets and we know they're going to line up perfectly. So what I do is I add a little bit more glue to my magnet, and then I glue my mat. And we're going to line this up over the pocket there and push down. Make sure you push down real good on that magnet, and you'll be able to feel it through that mat there. That way you know the magnet's not going to slide around and it's really adhered well to the pocket. Now we can go ahead and mat this piece here. And like I said, these mats measure 5 7/8 by 3 5/8 inches. And I'll add a little bit more glue to this side of my magnet up here so I know that's going to attach to my photo mat really well. And we'll lay our mat down and push down on the edges. And then push down on that magnet really well too, so you know it's adhered pretty good. And then when you close it, you'll hear the click. You hear it? So you know those magnets lined up really nicely. Now for photo mats, or for pull-out mats in here, I made different sizes of mats. I'm going to give you one size that you can do, and then you guys can decide if you want to make more or you want to make smaller. Like this one's my larger mat, and then I went ahead and made some smaller ones and tucked those in. I'm going to give you the measurements, like I said, for one for this pocket, and you can do the same over here. Make as many as you want. I'm just going to give you one. So for this, for a pull-out mat for this pocket, I measured it at 5.5 by 3 1/4, and then your photo mat to cover both sides measures 5 3/8 by 3 1/8. And then if you want to make smaller ones, you can go ahead and do so, or make as many as you want, okay? So we're finished with this, and we can close our flap, and you guys can decorate your pocket, you know, do whatever you want. What we're going to work on next is the corner pocket here, and then we'll finish with the folio pieces. So the corner pocket, what I do is, the easiest way I make my corner pockets is I make 2 at a time, and I'll show you. We're going to put this aside. Get my board here. So for the corner pocket, I measured a piece at 4 by 4. And what I do is I line up this point and this point on my cut line. So I put my point on my cut line here, and then I move this over, and I put my point on my cut line there. And I cut it in half. So you're going to end up with 2 triangle pieces, and that's great because you'll have 2 pockets. You can use this for another folio or an album later. I'm going to do the same thing before we put this pocket together with my photo mat that I'm going to put on top. Your photo mat measures 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. We're going to line up the points on the cut line, and we're going to cut out our 2 triangle pieces. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I measured that wrong. I did measure that wrong. I'm very, very sorry. Your photo mat, disregard the photo mat piece. I totally measured that wrong. Let's do, I do apologize. This is going to make a corner pocket that measures 3 by 3. So we're going to do 2 7/8 by 2 7/8, and I think this will work out. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So your mat for the pocket, I do apologize again, is 2 7/8 by 2 7/8, and you're going to line up your corners, and you're going to get 2 triangle pieces. Okay. So 4 by 4 for the pocket. 2 7/8 by 2 7/8 for the mat. Okay. Get out your scoreboard. And you're going to line up your corner piece right into the corner here. And you're going to score at 1/2 inch. And then flip it. And score at 1/2 inch again. Okay, and then let's fold up our corners. Score line. You're going to have a little corner down here. It's like a little box. You're going to want to cut that off. So you'll have 2 flaps. Close one of the flaps. And then I add a little bit of adhesive here. And I close that up. So you're left with this, and it has 2 points on it. And basically what I do is I just snip those off. Okay, so we made our corner pocket, and now you can mat the top piece there. Okay, so let's mat this pocket up first, and then we'll add it to our album. Oops, sorry. My nails scraped across. Okay, so we have our flap here with our bottom pocket, and now we're going to want to put our corner pocket on. So I'm going to put adhesive on those flaps that we created. And I'm going to put it right down in the corner here. And push down with your bone folder or whatever you have available to you so it adheres really well. Okay, so that just made our corner pocket. And like I said, you can put as many pull-out mats and things you want in them. This is the 5.5 by 3 1/4. That fits in there really well. Okay, so we have our 2 bottom pockets done, our magnetic flap. Now we're going to want to do our waterfall page or our flap page. What you want to do first is you want to get your magnet piece, your ribbon, you want to get that together. And what I'm talking about is this piece right here. You're going to want to have this ready to adhere underneath this bottom mat. So what I did was I took 2 scallop circles. These are at 1/2 inch a piece. And then I have my piece of ribbon that measures approximately 5.5 inches. So on the scallop circle here, this is my printed piece of ribbon and this is the plain piece. I'm going to want to put the printed piece down first. I'm using Fabri-Tac for that. You can use whatever glue you like. This just works really well with ribbon. So I'm going to add a piece to there and I'm going to glue that down to this circle. I'm going to add a little more Fabri-Tac. And we're going to need 2 magnets for this, but you're going to want to put one aside. For right now, we're just going to add 1 magnet to the center of our scallop circle. And then I add glue to that magnet piece there. And then I add glue all the way around the scallop circle here. And I'm going to put this on top. So it basically hides that magnet. And what I do, when I line up your scallops as best as you can, I kind of use my bone folder and I push around my magnet so that I know these 2 scallop pieces are really going to adhere nice to each other and this won't pull apart. So that's really important when you're adding the magnet underneath, that you make sure your scallop pieces don't pull apart. So I usually go all around my magnet. Okay, maybe you guys can see what I mean. I go all around this magnet piece here and I push down really well, adhering these pieces together. So we have our piece ready, and that's basically going to go underneath and flip up. Okay, but let's put this aside because we know this is done. And we're going to add our photo mats, which you're going to need for your waterfall pieces. You're going to need 4 pieces that measure 4.5 by 3 1/4. You're going to put them in your scoreboard. And you're going to score at 1/2 inch for all 4 pieces. Fold your score line. And then this is where my double-sided tape comes in again. I'm going to add double-sided tape to this flap. My flap is on the bottom, and I'm flapping it, I'm pushing it up, and I'm only adding the double-sided tape to this. Okay, so here's your front piece. This flap is going to go under and adhere to your book. So that's where you want to add your glue, to this side. Okay, you're going to pull that off, fold it under, line it up at the top, leave a little bit of pattern paper, and push down. Okay, so now you have your 1/2 inch section here is what is adhered to your piece, and then you have this flap. Your photo mats are going to measure 3 7/8 by 1/8 inch. And what you're going to do for this piece is you're going to want to put your magnet next. Okay? So I'm going to put the magnet on. I think it's on the right side. Let me double check. This is when I double check. So this is going to go underneath. It's going to flip up and it's going to keep this closed. So you want to make sure you glue it right when you glue it on this side. Okay? The negative and the positive. You want to make sure you're gluing it properly, or they're gonna move away from each other if you don't. So we know those two are gonna connect, and then we're gonna add our mat to this side. Okay, don't forget to push down on that magnet piece in the center there. Okay. And then this piece is going to flip up, so you want to make sure if you have pattern paper, you're not gluing it this way, you glue it this way. Because I went ahead and glued the rest of my mats together so that it would save time for the camera. Okay, so let's glue this piece on. And then our next page, I think we'll do the pumpkins. Our flap is here. We're going to peel our double-sided tape off. We're going to fold the flap under, and we're going to butt this up against the flap here. Whoop. And you want to be really careful when you do this. Now before I push down on it, I usually lay it down. I flip this over and I make sure they're going to lay good and they line up this way. Okay, so that looks really good. I'm going to push down and I'm going to get ready for my next flap. Pull the flap up, take your double-sided tape off, flap it back down, butt it up right against that flap that you have down on the paper. Before you push down, you want to close this, make sure they all line up nicely. Open it back up and push down really well. Okay, we're getting ready for our last flap piece here. Pull the double-sided tape off, flap down, butt it up against. Do not push down on it yet. Make sure you close this up and they line up really well. Now you can push down and open it back up. Now we're going to need a piece here that hides underneath here because we're running out of room. So this piece I measured at 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and we're going to add that. We're going to butt it up against this 1/2 inch piece here, and we're going to make sure it stays hidden underneath. So you won't even see that until you flip this up. Before we adhere this down, let's turn it around the other side. Get some double-sided tape, put that in the middle, all the way to the edge. Peel this up. Okay, we're going to be adding our ribbon onto here, but before we push down really hard, what I do is I usually butt this up on here, close it, and I want to make sure that this is going to line up with the magnet there, that I have enough room. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good, guys. Okay. So I'm going to push down. Okay, I'm going to add more double-sided tape to the other side of the ribbon. And then I'm going to add glue to all of my edges. Pull these pieces up. Flip it around. Like I said, butt it up right against that 1/2 inch flap, making sure you're not going to see it. And now you can push it down really well. And this closes up really nicely to meet up with the magnet that you put in this section here. Now we're going to want to add our photo mat to the inside piece here. That photo mat measures 3 1/8 by 3 1/8 inches. And we're going to line that up on here as best we can. And now we have a little hidden photo mat underneath. And that gives you a lot more photo mats for the center of your folio. Okay, so we have our flip pages here, our corner pocket here, our pocket underneath, and now you can go ahead and decorate however you'd like. Just make sure you know this only is about 1/4 inch. So when you're decorating the inside, you don't want to put anything in here that's two-dimensional because it won't close right for you. So what I did was, when I decorated my fall one, I basically used stickers. You could probably use flat Cricut cuts, you know, whatever you'd like. Just make sure they're not real puffy and dimensional, and it should close up really nice for you. And then you guys can go ahead and decorate your cover as dimensional as you want. And when I work with ribbon like this, when I go to close it, I usually tie it in a knot, and then I make a loop with the pattern, and then when I wrap it around, I wrap it so that the back shows, so that when I go to make my second loop, I can get that pattern to come out again on both sides. Okay? And like I said, when you do this, you might want to trim off, you know, a little bit of your edges, but I just wanted to make sure you'd have enough, you know, to make your bow for your side. And that's it, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Have fun making yours. Thank you so much for watching this series. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it. And I'm thinking I'm going to continue with a different series, probably like a cards, treat bags, tags, and boxes kind of thing. Do a different project every week for the rest of the year. So hopefully I will be starting that soon. And thank you guys for having patience and waiting for this. I really appreciate it. And like I said, have fun making yours. I'm going to post a link below to where you can order these magnets if you're not sure where to get them. I'm also going to post a link below to where I get my art glitter glue, because I know I always have questions on this and the metal tips that you can get. Okay? Thanks for watching. You guys take care and have fun.